Most of your book should be written in the form of scenes. You probably know this already, but do you really know what a scene is? I've worked with hundreds of writers in my 18 years as a memoir writing coach. Most of those people came to me thinking they knew what a scene was, but did they really? In this video, I'm going to help you understand what a scene actually is, and why the main event rule is actually the key to writing a great scene. I'm going to give you examples from beginning writers who don't apply this rule and show you the disastrous consequences. I'm also going to give you an example from a writer who gets this right. Finally, I'll help you understand why getting this rule right is the first step to creating plot in your book. My name is Wendy Dale. I'm a Penguin Random House author, and I wrote a TV special that was nominated for an Emmy. Paul Feig called me an extremely talented writer in print. That was very nice of him. Okay, let's start by seeing if you know what a scene actually is. Okay, Hemingway, go ahead and try to define a scene in a sentence. How did you do? No worries, this is not a quiz. I'm going to help you out, I promise. But first, a quick quiz. Sorry, can't help myself. I'm going to give you two sentences. One is the beginning of a scene, the other is not. It's up to you to pick the scene. Ready? That Saturday, my husband made pizza. On Saturday nights, my husband made pizza. How do I know that this sentence is the beginning of a scene? Well, because any time you give me a specific point of time in your book, you have started to write a scene. Saturday nights is not the beginning of a scene because it takes place over an extended period of time. Now, it's okay to include a sentence like, Saturday nights my husband made pizza, but it's not okay to think that this is a scene. So, this is the first concept you need to understand. Scenes always take place at a specific point in time. I have so many students who turn in writing to me that they are calling a scene. But it's just writing, not a scene. A scene is a particular component in your book, and you can spot it because it takes place at a specific point in time. In fact, that is how you can spot the scenes in any memoir or novel. Whenever the writing indicates a specific point in time, you are about to get a scene. Your scene will start with a time anchor, something like one day, or that Thursday, or 3 hours later. A time anchor marks a specific point in time and indicates that a scene is about to begin. You're about to start using time in a specific way. Which leads me to the second thing that any scene needs, a main event. To help you understand this, let's watch a short scene from the TV show The Big Bang Theory. Now, as you watch this scene, think about how you would describe what happened in the scene in a single sentence. Okay, here's the scene.
Look, Dr. Cooper, I really want this position. It would be an incredible honor to work for a man of your brilliance.
Flattery will not get you this job, Miss Jensen.
It's not flattery if it's truth.
Oh. Well, thank you. Welcome aboard.
So what happened? Well, you might have said something like, Alex got the job, or Sheldon decides to hire Alex. Whatever you answered, it's really clear what actually happened in this scene. Now, why is this so important? Well, there's several reasons. First of all, scenes are the building blocks of plot, whether you're talking about a screenplay, a novel, or a memoir. And that means that something always needs to happen in your scene. Now, what happens in your scene is what is actually advancing your story. So many times I see people get this wrong, and they think of a scene as just a moment in time. So they write about everything that happened at that moment in time. I'll read a scene of a dinner conversation, and the writer recounts everything that got talked about during that dinner. So dad complains about his problems with his boss, and mom talks about the prices going up at Safeway. And the brother complains about not understanding microbiology. Wow, this is sounding like some 50s sitcom. Does mom talk about the prices going up at Subway? Anyway, the end result is that nothing actually happens in the scene. So let me give you an example of a scene that has this exact problem. I want you to notice how it's an account of everything happening at the time, which is a huge problem if you want to keep your reader engaged, which is also a huge problem if you are trying to create plot with your scene. So here is that scene. Later that day, there I was, sitting next to Mom at Grandma's wake. The casket was centrally placed with chairs arranged around it. The neighbors speaking in hushed tones. The quiet weeping, sniffing, and noses blowing kept me still in my chair. Why this cloying scent of the flowers and burning candles nauseating me? If only I couldn't taste the uncontrollable smoke from Mom's cigarettes. After a while, people began to depart, leaving me with my mother, Aunt Lydia, Mom's oldest sister, Aunt Anna, Mom's youngest sister, and her husband, Uncle Nick. The tradition was to watch over the dead body all night. Damn cigarettes. Why didn't Mom stop smoking? It seemed that she liked her cigarettes more than she liked me. Around 2 a.m., Mom approached the coffin and touched the cheap flowers over Grandma's body. Oh, how I wish I could afford you better flowers, Mom. Almost immediately, Uncle Nick initiated a series of jokes. Mom eventually perched atop the chair and, like magic, started to laugh. Okay. So what is the problem with this scene? Well, it's not really leading up to a main event. And as a result, you don't really know what to take away from this. Having tons of stuff happen in your scene has really the same effect as having nothing happen in your scene. Your reader doesn't know what to take away from it. And what's worse is that they won't remember what it is you want them to remember. They're not going to remember every little thing that happened in this scene. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it is this. Something must always happen in your scene. And that something needs to be very clear to your reader. Having a ton of stuff happen has the same effect on your reader as having nothing happen. Your reader doesn't know what to take away from the scene. So this is where your main event comes in. Several things can happen in your scene, but all of those mini events need to lead up to the main event. The main event is what your reader will remember happening. So what will you remember an hour later from the Big Bang Theory scene I showed you? Sheldon decides to give Alex the job. Now, lots of little things happened, but they all led up to Alex getting hired. The wrong way to have written the scene might have been Alex talking about her childhood and Sheldon getting distracted with a video game and Alex getting a call on her cell phone from her cousin and Sheldon trying to scratch an itch on his foot and Sheldon daydreaming and Alex sneezing and so on and so on. That would have been just a bunch of random stuff that the scene didn't need. Now, especially when it comes to memoir, it can be very tempting to put all of these events in your scene simply because you remember them happening. But if you do this, you'll confuse your reader and they won't know what to take away from your scene. I'm going to give you the solution to this in just a minute. Before I do, be sure to check out the links in the description. You'll learn how to get a free 7-part class on memoir. You'll learn about my book, The Memoir Engineering System. You'll also learn how to get one-on-one coaching with me and my team. So, what is the solution to this? Understanding the one important thing that happens in the scene and then writing toward that main event. So, let's talk about the scene we just read. Well, maybe that whole scene is about how the writer wanted to mourn her grandmother, but was constantly distracted by her mother smoking. Well, that idea is in here, but it gets diluted with so many other things happening. Or maybe this whole scene is about the last conversation that her mom has with her grandmother in the casket. Or maybe this whole scene is about Uncle Nick's jokes and how they turned a sad occasion into a bearable one. Choosing any one of these ideas and going with it would have created a main event. It would have given the scene a reason to exist. So, Your scene exists in your book because something happens in your scene. This is called your main event, and you must always write to it. By the time a reader has finished your scene, it should be very clear to them what has happened in the scene. Let me give you one final example of a scene that actually gets this right. Now, this is from a former client who really understood the concept of writing to your main event. See how clear this scene is. A few months later, I'm shocked and upset when Richard tells me he had volunteered to be laid off. The front door opens unexpectedly early, and Richard steps in. My joy in seeing him dies a quick death as he tells me he was laid off. I feel my body slow to a near stop, like a dimmer switch got accidentally pushed down. Quinn toddles in just then, wanting to be picked up, perhaps sensing the tension in the air. Richard tells me he put his own name on the list when deciding who to recommend for the 10% company-wide layoffs, explaining how he couldn't bear to choose another one of his guys because it could destroy their family. His words, meant to reassure me of his integrity, I suppose, only ignite a fury within me. What about our family? I turn slightly away and snuggle Quinn for comfort. An awkward silence fills the air as Richard struggles to make eye contact. My mind won't stop racing. I haven't gone back to work full-time, as we agreed, and there's no way I can support us on my part-time income. How fast will we run out of money? How much money is in our savings account? Will we have nothing to eat but ramen noodles for a while? Quinn breaks the silence with a well-timed, "Dada." "We'll make it work somehow," I finally manage to say. But what I really want to say is, what the fuck were you thinking? He tells me about his severance package and says he'll start looking for a new job right away. But still, our reconciliation has been going well, but still feels fragile. And now this, another test of our resilience, another weight on our already burdened shoulders. So, what happened in this scene? What is the main event that gives this scene a reason to exist? What do you remember after you read this scene? Well, it's something about Richard explains that he volunteered to get laid off, and the narrator's horrified. Very clear why this scene exists in the story and how it's moving the plot forward. So, do you want to know about the third element that every scene needs? Well, it's called subjective writing. Subjective writing is what affects a reader emotionally, what transports them and helps them feel like they are living through the story with the narrator. To learn more about subjective writing, watch this video next.